Good afternoon. My name is Jim Conlan, and welcome to the latest episode of our sports show. As you know, we've been previewing and airing on live on radio about our special feature in terms of my top five sporting memories. And we have this month we're specifically focusing on Formula One, and we're speaking to a wide range of ex-Formula One drivers who have had distinguished careers to look back at some of the most iconic moments in their careers. Also, a memory that mightn't include them, but might be a nostalgic moment of Formula One for them that stands out with them, and also maybe a childhood memory in terms of another sport or even a racing memory from growing up, maybe motorbikes or carring or karting when they were sort of younger. That's meant an awful lot to them as well in terms of sharing their passion. So last week in the first episode, we had David Coulthard, and he shared some of his memories from getting to at 19 to drive a Formula One car that had been driven by the likes of Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, to name a few. And so his first win and some of his memories within Formula One for McLaren and that. So we're going to move on now, and we have an Italian driver this week, and he has some real Irish blood in him, in terms of he has represented the Irish Formula One team in their pomp under Eddie Jordan. He has appeared over 252 times in Formula One with one win, 11 podiums, pole position 4 times. He made his debut in 1997 in the Australian Grand Prix. And from 1997 to 2011, he has driven for Minardi, Prost, Jordan, Renault and Toyota. He came 6th in the 2004 World Championship in Formula One, and his maiden sort of victory in Formula One came in the 2004 Monaco Grand Prix. No, it's not Giancarlo Fisichella, it's the other Italian, Jarno Trulli. Jarno, first of all, thank you. A pleasure talking to you today, sir. And does it almost feel like yesterday, or does it almost feel like a long time ago now for Jarno, to you, when you're watching Formula One on your TVs, that you were a part of that world and you were a part of that environment?
Well, good evening, everyone. First of all, I must admit that now it starts to feels like it's a long time ago, because, of course, I stopped in 2011 when was my last season, and a lot has changed in Formula One. And nowadays the cars are different, the paddock is different, the whole business is different, the sport in general is different. So honestly, I must admit that now, for me, it feels like a long time ago. So apart that, I still remember everything. Even though I must say that my career was very, very long, starting from karting when I was 8 years old to finish when I was 38 in Formula One. So we're talking about 30 years of racing career.
30 years of a racing career, and an established career with lots of memories. And I suppose to condense it into sort of 5 moments must be sort of challenging as well for you, Jarno. There's been so many terrific moments. But when you look back, and especially in Formula One, if I had to start with number 5 in terms of you, what sort of memory stands out here in terms of your time in Formula One?
It's very hard to say, because I have had so many races, so many good memories, as well bad memories, and some extraordinary races. But to name one which could be the 5th, the 4th, the 3rd, the 2nd, the 1st, it's always very hard. It's always very hard. But we can for sure pick up some very good moments, like I don't know, back in 2003, if I'm not wrong. I was starting on the front row with Renault, together with my teammate Fernando Alonso. Of course, he had a quicker, let's say, strategy compared to me. He had less fuel to start with, but I had in that case an advantage for the race. So I was very confident that I could race very well and race for victory and podium, because we were very competitive at that time with our car, especially on that circuit. But unfortunately for me, it didn't go well, because at the start of the race, at the corner one, unfortunately, Michael Schumacher hit me, and I basically spun into the corner, and I had to rejoin the track, and I was last one. So the race for me started terribly bad, but I didn't give up. And at the end of the race, at the very, last 3 laps or 2 laps, I was 5th, and I overtook Jenson Button on the last lap, and I finished 4th. So that was a great moment for me, a great race. I can't say if it was my 5th best moment or my 1st best moment, but of course was one of those races where really I drove brilliantly and was an outstanding moment.
And I suppose, Jarno, I'll mention another moment, and it's a special moment for every Formula One driver. It's their debut. It's their first Formula One Grand Prix. For you, 1997, the Australian Grand Prix. What are your memories of that day?
It was a very difficult one for me because I didn't have experience. I was coming straight from Formula 3 Championship. I had very little mileage in Formula 1, maybe 3-4 days testing, and I was, of course, debuting with a Minardi at the time, so no one was expecting much from me. But anyway, it was my Formula 1 debut. It was first time on the Formula 1 grid, and I wanted to do well. And my only target was to finish the race, which I actually did. And that was the starting. I was extremely stressed before the race, even though, as I say, there was no point to be stressed. But, I was very young. I was 22, 23. And I was for the first time on the Formula 1 grid. And it wasn't easy to deal with, especially because, as I said, I had very little experience. I didn't even know if I could finish the Grand Prix physically, because yes, I trained a lot, but I never basically covered the full distance on a Formula 1 car. So I didn't know what to expect during the race.
And Jarno, I suppose you have come in pole position in qualifying for 4 occasions. I suppose qualifying is very different now to when qualifying was in your sort of day. And obviously in your day, it would anyone from 1 to 20 in the last lap, in the last 2 or 3 seconds, could come in first position. Now it's broken up into sectors, and you have to make a sector to get to another sector, to get to another sector in terms of qualifying. But your first pole position in terms of qualifying, what are your sort of memories of that, Jarno, in terms of that qualifying? Because everyone remembers racing, but qualifying and the tense position and going into that final fastest lap for you, did you know that you were on a quick one? Can a racer tell in that moment that he's on his way to a fast lap? In terms of now, with all the modern technology, now it's probably an awful lot easier in the cars. But back then, was it just intuition?
To be honest, I've gone through many different qualifying formats. Okay. On the usual one, the old one, where everybody were on the track, and so you had to do the qualifying with I don't know, 2 or 3 new tire set. So it means a few attempts with a new set of tires. Then we have gone through the format of the Friday and Saturday qualifying. Then we have gone through the qualifying of over a single lap. For everyone. Then we have gone through actually the actual qualifying, which was Q3, Q2, Q1. So at the end of the day, it doesn't change much because you just have to put everything together if you want to be at the top. And we always had the reference. We always look at the data, and at the end of the day, the business itself hasn't been very different from that day to nowadays. I believe that the qualifying format can change, but the actual job is very, very similar.
And you've raced for 2 of the biggest charismatic egos in Formula 1 in terms of obviously one of the greatest Formula One drivers of all time, Alain Prost. You raced for the Prost team, and then the larger than life figure of Eddie Jordan as well. So did they, and obviously Renault, I suppose, Fabio Briatore, when Renault was sort of Benetton, I might be mistaken there, I might be mixing that up. But getting back to Eddie and Alain Prost, what are your memories there?
With both persons, I had very good memories. Alain, of course, was someone who you could talk about the technical side. He would know exactly what was going on inside your head in terms of also feedback, car setup, and follow the car, let's say, development. So I learned a lot from Alain, and for me it was very important because it was a young stage during my first few seasons. So to be learning and to be driving for Alain Prost for me was, I would say, fundamental to learn many things, also in the mentality of a Formula One driver, in the way of working. With Eddie was totally different. Eddie is a character. He's honestly a good guy, very serious with me. We have had a fantastic relationship, and I can't say that I'm a little bit sad that I left after 2 years, because with Eddie the relationship was very good. Unfortunately, the car for some reason was very unreliable, very unreliable. I joined the team back in 2000, if I'm not wrong. And the year before, the car was very competitive, very reliable. They finished second in the championship with Enza Alfrenzen. When I joined the team for the next 2 years, we only had lots of troubles with both drivers. It's a shame because the team was on the up, and suddenly we found ourselves, me on my side as a driver and Eddie on his side as a team owner, in a difficult situation, because of course on my side I wanted the best results for the team, for myself, in order to show my potential. On the other hand, Eddie was losing points in the championship and was not good for the team. But unfortunately, there was very little we could do. And after 2 years, it was set to leave. I was, I say, probably also forced to leave because I had a contract previously with Benetton Renault, which called me back in 2003. So after 2 years there, basically I had to leave. I had to leave Eddie, but the experience with both Alain Prost and Eddie Jordan were great for me. It was very good.
And Jarno, you mentioned there about moments, and obviously you mentioned there about a long career in racing, from karting to bikes to Formula One. What sort of moment outside of Formula One, maybe from a childhood age, in terms of success or victory, that made you want to follow this dream?
Well, it's hard to say. First of all, my name, because I am named after Jarno Saarinen, who was a bike rider. And of course, my family, they were a big fan of motorsport, motorcycle. They knew about, they were supporters of Jarno Saarinen. And when he died, they decided to name myself after him. So already this could be, a tip for the future, for what could have been my future. Eventually, my father was, as I say, was big passionate on motorsport. He was a go-kart passionate, go-kart driver, hobby driver. So he has introduced me in karting for fun, just for fun, because at that stage, no one could trust or believe that I could one day be a Formula One driver, especially because, economically my family could not support me. But at that time, anything could happen. And in fact, I just followed my passion. I raced karting for hobby at the beginning, and then I continued, and I was lucky enough to find myself in the right place at the right time, and fortunately then I moved to Formula One.
And Jarno, in terms of that 2004 championship, before we get onto that victory, that 2004 championship, coming 6th place in that Constructors' Championship, getting on podiums throughout that year as well. Obviously, the race victory, we'll get to that as well. But just that whole championship, that whole year as such, but that was probably your most enjoyable year. Did you feel that you had the possibility of breaking or cracking into that top 3 that year?
To be honest, that was not the most enjoyable season. Actually, it was one of the worst, because we had some internal issue inside the team. So I didn't really enjoy it, even though I was very strong. I was so strong that probably I had to leave the team. I was sharing the team with Fernando Alonso, which was a young gun, which had a fantastic season in 2003. But in 2004, I was having the edge over him, and I was, I won the races. I was scoring podiums, and I was always ahead of him, even in the point score. So, but at one stage, unfortunately, things didn't go well, especially with Flavio Briatore, and so I had a feeling that I had to move on, and just left the team. In fact, I didn't finish the championship with Renault. I moved away before, but up until there, I was fighting for 3rd in the championship, together with Jenson Button. So we were probably 1 point away.
Okay, and Jarno, Monaco, if you to win any Grand Prix as a Formula One driver in all the circuit, whether it's Spa-Francorchamps, whether it's in Silverstone, whether it's even the Italian Grand Prix, I know that's so special to you, but most Formula One drivers, they'll pick Monaco. They'll pick Monaco as the one they want to win, in terms of its significance, in terms of its scenery, in terms of the history that is attached, associated with Monaco Grand Prix. You look at Olivier Panis winning it in the rain, and that meant the world to him. And for you, obviously, winning the Monaco Grand Prix, obviously, if you had a choice, you might say the Italian Grand Prix, but if you had any other choice, it would be Monaco, wouldn't it?
I think for everyone, Monaco is the one to win. Simply because historically we say that everybody knows that if you win in Monaco, if you are capable of winning in Monaco, you are capable to win everywhere. You are a good driver. And of course, this is one of those Grand Prix that you want to win, even because there are a lot of people. It's a fantastic atmosphere, and is one of the most successful races, let's say, in the Formula One history. So this is the one to win. But of course, for an Italian and for many other drivers, another fantastic Grand Prix is the Monza Grand Prix, Italian Grand Prix in Monza, because also in Monza the atmosphere is great, with all the tifosi coming to support the Ferrari, but in general supporting the whole Formula One driver. They go crazy. So it's not only the Grand Prix, it's not only, let's say, the circuit itself, is the general atmosphere, which also makes a Grand Prix very special.
And Jarno, before I let you go now, I just want to talk about another legend of Formula One, obviously, that we nearly lost him. He's still around, and obviously in his pomp, in his heyday, he was probably the best in the world. You would have come up against him on numerous time on the circuit and the paddock. Have you any sort of special moment that's unique or story with you of a shared memory with Michael Schumacher?
Well, so many. We have spent a lot of years together fighting on the track and playing, football outside of the track for charity, an example, or sharing some go-kart moments. But in general, Michael, of course, was an extremely talented driver, very successful. It was, unbelievable on the track, but he must have had a very difficult time outside of the track, because, of course, everyone wanted to hug him, to have to shake his hand or have a signature. So it wasn't easy, I think, for him to deal all the success outside of the track. But I can say that we have shared some very, very good moments where we were together outside of the track, away from races. And there is not one in particular in any way. It's a good memory that I keep for myself, and just wish him to get well and get back between us. Of course, he's having some hard time. He's fighting since years after his accident, but I think he has left an incredible memories to everyone, to all Formula One supporters and passionate.
And Jarno, you raced for an Irish Formula One team in Jordan. Did you ever get to spend time in Ireland, in Dublin and other parts of the country?
No, to be honest, not. I never had the pleasure to enjoy some Irish pub and Irish atmosphere, which I hopefully would like to do in the future. But at the moment, I'm busy looking after my business, busy looking after my family, the kids. So, I hope one day I can go there.
And finally, from me to you, Jarno Trulli, when you look at Formula One these days and you see Max Verstappen, you see Lewis Hamilton, when you see the races on TV, are you a good armchair sort of supporter? Can you sort of watch it and relax or enjoy it, or does it still make you edge up in the seat? You almost feel like just you want to be out there again. Can you watch Formula One and stay relaxed?
Yes, of course. When I watch Formula One, I do watch Formula One, not supporting anyone, but simply analyzing the race, because that was what was very good at. So I look into the technical side, I look into strategies, I look into what the races are about. And this is what interests me, because at the end of the day, we must say that the car always makes such a big difference in the performance. So of course, to value or to judge the drivers is always very, very hard. But on the other hand, I have seen some very nice races over the last few years. We had such a great battle last year between Lewis and Max, and I think everybody has enjoyed it.
On that note, Jarno Trulli, thanks for sharing your memories with us this evening. Obviously, 252 appearances in Formula One, 11 podiums, 4 pole positions. That victory in 2004 Monaco Grand Prix represented Minardi, Prost, Jordan, Renault and Toyota. Made his debut in Australia in the 97 Grand Prix. His last Grand Prix was in 2011 in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Thanks for sharing your memories, Jarno. Thanks for sharing information about your childhood there as well. And thanks for sharing about your love and your passion for Formula One racing. And thanks for being part of the show.
Thank you very much. See you soon. Bye.
See you, Jarno. Take care.